Hello, agus fáilte adibh, good lesson 3. Welcome to lesson 3. In this lesson, we're going to look at verbal nouns. And we'll use these to say what we're doing just now. And we'll also be speaking about how other people are. So that's building on the phrase we learned in the first lesson, cimid a ha. So we can use the same sentence format we used to answer cimid a ha u, ha mi, and we saw ha mi gema in the first lesson with a verbal noun. And a verbal noun is a verb in English with an ing ending, so doing, making, thinking, speaking, these type of things are what we call verbal nouns. So for example, we can use this structure, ha mi a snav, ha mi a snav, ha mi a snav, I am swimming. So using the same sentence format, and we're describing an action that's taking place just now, ha mi a snav, I am swimming. Likewise, we've seen negative statements, chanel e a rui. Chanel e a rui. He isn't running. Chanel e rui. So to ask a question about this, to ask somebody what they're doing, we use J, ha, u, a dèanamh. J, ha, a dèanamh. What are you doing? J, ha, a dèanamh. Dèanamh, doing or making, and you'll hear this MV on the end of the word as either a V sound, a V, or an U. So you will hear a dèanamh or a dèanamh. So J, ha, a dèanamh. And we can also ask a question about what people are doing using a vil, like we saw in the first lesson. A vil u a cosach. A vil u a cosach. A vil u a cosach. Are you walking? So other than the verb to be, which is almost always very irregular in European languages, there are just 10 other irregular verbs in Gaelic, so there's not a huge number, which is good news. And we'll see here the verbal nouns of the 10 irregular verbs. So adul is going, adul, and if we use that in the sentence, ha mi adul, I am going, ha mi adul, adul. Coming, a chian, ha mi a chian, I am coming. A fine, getting, a fine, ha mi a fine, ha mi a fine, I am getting. A thirst, bringing, a thirst, a thirst. And this one we'll see used with different prepositions. So you get bringing to somebody, bringing with you for taking. There's various combinations of a thirst, and we'll see those later on in the course. A feikin, seeing, ha mi a feikin, I am seeing. A feikin. We saw in the previous page a dèanamh, doing or making. J, ha, a dèanamh. What are you doing? J, ha, a dèanamh. For saying, we have a gra. A gra. And where we saw J, ha, u, a dèanamh, we can say J, ha, u, a gra. What are you saying? So we can use the sentence structure we've seen here and swap around any of these verbal nouns. So, ha mi igra, chanel mi igra, je hau dèanamh, je hau igra, je hau a feikin. So you'll see you can use these red boxes in any combination. And we're just learning the vocabulary for these verbal nouns. For hearing, we have a cloinchin, a cloinchin. Je hau a cloinchin, ha mi a cloinchin. Hearing, a cloinchin. For reaching or arriving also can be used in that sense, a rugshin, a rugshin. And bearing or catching, and again this is how we combine this verb with various prepositions that come after it, can change the meaning of this to bearing as in bearing children, or catching as in catching a ball, or also catching a bus, that type of thing. So we'll see that again in later lessons. So these 8 verbal nouns here are obviously slightly more common than these two. But the irregular verbs, which is typical, are more irregular, or the more common verbs tend to be the irregular ones, as they're more often in use. And some other ones we'll encounter in the course to talk about what we're doing from day to day. A fudach, staying or waiting. A fudach, a fudach. Writing, skrivig, skrivig. And think here, scribe, skrive, obviously from the same root. Skrivig, writing. Agiri, wanting, and there wasn't an overly appropriate emoji for use with this one, so the kind of praying icon will have to stand in for wanting something. Agiri, wanting. And also a coed, watching or looking, and this can be pronounced a ced, which is what I would normally say, a ced. And you also have here a coed or a coed, watching, looking. So they're just some useful ones we're going to encounter to describe what we're doing from day to day. You'll see a dull, which we had there, going, a dull, used in an informal greeting, which is often used rather than the kimirahau we saw in the first lesson. How are you? We don't always ask people how they are. Often in English you might say, what's going on? How, and to say that in Gaelic we say, je ha dull. And this is a dull, and you typically drop the A apostrophe in this phrase because there's a vowel and a vowel. So je ha dull. Je ha dull. What's going on? Je ha dull. And the answer to that is typically chanel moren, not much. This is one where people aren't wanting to give too much away. Je ha dull, chanel moren. So we'll see these verbs cropping up again and again, but it's useful at this stage to introduce them and for you to learn the common verbs that we're going to be using regularly with the structures we've already seen. So these aren't really introducing new structures, just new vocabulary in the form of verbal nouns. So we have some pictures here, and we can use the phrase we've seen, je ha iad a dèanamh. So here again, like we've seen in the previous 2 lessons, we can substitute this pale green box for one of the pronouns. So where you have u for you T-H-U, U. We can have iad to mean them, or e for he, him, or she, her. Iad. So J ha iad a dèanamh. What are they doing? J ha a dèanamh. What is he doing? J ha a dèanamh. What is she doing? And we can use those phrases to ask questions about these pictures. So again, if you're doing this with a partner, you can pause the video and ask each other these questions and give answers. And likewise, if you're doing this in a class with a teacher, this is a good exercise to do in pairs and taking turns asking what people are doing and giving an answer. And you'll also see that at the bottom here, we have the appropriate verbal nouns to give answers to these. So J ha I a dèanamh. J ha I dèanamh. So if we look at the verbal nouns, ha I a cloich. Ha I a cloich. J ha I dèanamh. Ha I a cloich guitar. Ha I a cloich guitar. J ha a dèanamh. J ha a dèanamh. Ha a snaf. Ha a snaf. He is swimming. J ha dèanamh. Ha a snaf. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad excessive. Ha iad excessive. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad excessive. J ha I a dèanamh. J ha I dèanamh. Ha I a dansig. Ha I a dansig. She is dancing. J ha I dèanamh. Ha I a dansig. J ha iad a dèanamh. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a gcithe. They are eating. J ha a dèanamh. Ha iad a gcithe. J ha iad a dèanamh. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a págach. Ha iad a págach. They're kissing. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a págach. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a dansig. So we had J ha I a dèanamh. Ha I a dansig. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a dansig. They are dancing. J ha I a dèanamh. J ha I a dèanamh. What is she doing? Ha I a gobud. She is working. Ha I gobud. And for the keen-eyed amongst the viewers, this is Mari Vor Nanoran, a famous Gaelic poet, Barsht from the Isle of Skye, in Dèanamh. So show Mari Vor Nanoran. And you can use, like we've seen in the previous two lessons, rather than a pronoun here, we can use the person's name. So J ha Mari Vor Nanoran a dèanamh. J ha Mari a dèanamh. Ha Mari a gobud. Mary is working. J ha I a dèanamh. J ha I a dèanamh. Ha I a gall. Ha I a gall. She is drinking. Ha I a gall. Notice when we're saying these verbal nouns that, particularly in the verbal nouns which start with a vowel, like a gall, a gcithe, a gobuth. The ig part, the AG, tends to stick to the front of the vowel which starts the verbal noun. So gall, gihe, gobuth. The G is almost stuck to the front of the word rather than ig, obuth, ig, ihe. It's gall, gihe, gobuth. So in this picture here, J ha I a dèanamh. J ha I dèanamh. Ha I a pentig. J ha I dèanamh. Ha I a pentig. In this picture, J ha I a dèanamh. J ha I dèanamh. Ha I a shine. J ha I dèanamh. Ha I a shine. And again, some of you will recognise this as Julie Fowlis, the famous Gaelic singer. So J ha Julie Fowlis a dèanamh. Ha Julie Fowlis a shine. Ha I a shine. Two footballers here. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a cloich. They are playing. Ha de cloich. And if remember, when you're starting learning a language and you don't know the words, you can always use the English. So we saw ha I a cloich guitar, and conveniently the Gaelic for guitar is guitar. But here we have two girls playing football. So we can have ha iad a cloich football if you don't know the words. There is a Gaelic for football, it's ball chosha. Ha de cloich ball chosha. But as I say, at the moment, stick to learning phrases and structures that are important, and if you don't know, you can always use an English word. So if you don't know what they're doing, ha iad a cloich football, and the ha iad a cloich is what we're looking for in terms of speaking Gaelic. You can always learn the vocabulary for football later on. So in this picture, we have Julie Fowlis again, but this time she's playing a bagpipe. So J ha I a dèanamh. And this one's actually a trick question, because if this was a classroom scenario and I was getting answers from people learning, I expect they would go for playing, as it would be in English, playing the pipes. But in Gaelic, it's traditional to say that we sing the pipes. So technically, here, ha I a shine. Ha I a shine the peeb. She's singing the pipes. Ha J ha Julie Fowlis a dèanamh. Ha Julie Fowlis a shine the peeb. In this picture, ha Julie Fowlis a shine. In this picture, ha Julie Fowlis a shine the peeb. Another famous Gael here, we have Sorla MacLean. Sorla MacLean. J ha Sorla a dèanamh. Ha a leavig. He is reading. What is Sorla doing? He is reading. J ha Sorla a dèanamh. Ha a leavig. Ha a leavig. He is reading. A leavig is an untypical word in a way, in that the GH here is a V sound, leavig. You will hear it leig with a silent GH, but it's most commonly said with a V sound, leavig. So J ha a dèanamh. Ha Sorla MacLean leavig. And the final picture, in Jelad Mierig, J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a coiseach. J ha iad a dèanamh. Ha iad a coiseach. They are walking. So the structure here is very straightforward. J, ha, iad, or e, or e, or u, or any of the pronouns. And then a dèanamh, what are they, he, her, you doing? And then ha with the person, and then the verbal noun. So ha, e, iad, and then one of these verbal nouns. So the structure is the same as what we've seen so far, very simple, and all we're doing is learning the vocabulary for some of these. And you can take a bit of time to practice, go through some of these verbal nouns. Obviously, you won't remember all of these immediately, so it's picking out the ones you're going to use regularly at first. So if you're not a big swimmer, perhaps focus on eating and drinking. Obviously, we'll be talking a lot about a gall, agus a gihe, and a gobud later on. Certainly a skrivig, agus a leivig. So, last of all in this lesson, we'll just do a quick bit of revision on the sentence we saw in the first lesson, Cimid a ha. So we saw Cimid a how are you? Again, we can use this phrase with Cimid a ha iad, Cimid a ha Cimid a ha to ask about other people. And use the same. So we saw Cimid a ha mi guma, I am well. We can use ha I, or if there's more than one person or we're not sure about their gender, we can use iad. And below, you'll see some descriptive vocabulary here. So people might not always be guma or donna. They might be any number of other adjectives. So first of all, to go through this list here, we have bránach, sad or miserable. Bránach, bránach. Ferigach, furious or angry. Ferigach. And again, this vowel sound that you hear between the R and the G. Ferigach. Furious, angry. Ferigach. Tolletje, tolletje. Happy, tolletje. And the opposite, míholletje, míholletje. Probably hard to tell if anybody in these pictures are busy, but trang, trang, busy, trang. Ski, tired or weary. Ski. Again, not an overly common adjective to be introduced to this early in a course, but for some of these pictures, I think this is a good descriptive word. Anoshel. I remember we saw in the introductory lesson that FH is silent. So an-oshel, anoshel, restless or troubled. No harm in learning some interesting vocabulary. Cheen, L, cheen. Ill, as in poorly, unwell. Cheen. Another good word, descriptive. Imigenach, anxious or nervous. Imigenach. Imigenach. Rude, impolite or cheeky, we have mívogal. Mívogal. And you'll see this me suffix here, the same as we had with tolletje, míholletje. So from that we can deduce that if mívogal is impolite, rude, mógal is polite. So tolletje, míholletje, mógal, mívogal. Uavasach, terrible. And this is a very, very common word in Gaelic because it's used as an intensifier. Like you would say terribly good in English, you can say uavasach ma, terribly good in Gaelic. And it's a very common intensifier in Gaelic. But you can use it as a standalone word to mean terrible. So, Kimera hau, hami uavasach, I am terrible, or uavasach ma, I am terribly good. Uavasach. Leishk, lazy. Leishk, leishk. And the reason we have a picture of a dog here is there's a common proverb in Gaelic, cho leishk ri shelm chu, as lazy as an old dog. And we'll come on to that in another lesson. Leishk, lazy. We've already seen scannal. Scannal, excellent. Scannal. For a quiet, easygoing person, we can describe them as sochgad. 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 And the opposite of that, if somebody's lively or animated, they are beáthal. Beáthal. So let's have a go at Kimera ha iad. How are they? Kimera ha I. What do we think? Chaneli guma. So we can always use chanel in a negative statement if we're unsure as to how they are. Chaneli guma, she's not well. Ha I imiganach. Perhaps she's anxious. Ha I imiganach. Again, there's no right or wrong answers to these questions. We're taking a guess at how the people are. Kimera ha e. And again, if we know the person's name, in this instance, Simon Pegg, I believe, Kimera ha Simon Pegg. Ha e ferigach. Ha Simon Pegg ferigach. He looks angry. So ha ferigach. He is angry. Ha Simon Pegg ferigach. Kimera ha I. Well, she looks happy. Ha I tullidge. Ha I tullidge. But what about this person? Kimera ha I. Well, you can see a tear running down her cheek. Ha I bránach. Ha bránach. She is sad. Kimera ha I. What about this one? How is she? Kimera ha I. Again, not sure. Chaneli guma. She's not well. She's not good. Ha I anoshel. She's restless. She's troubled. She could also be imiganach. Or perhaps just play safe and say ha I mihoditje. She's certainly not overly enthused about something. Chaneli scannal. She's not excellent. What about this one? Kimera ha e. Kimera ha e. Ha e. Ski. Maybe he's tired. Ha e. Ski. I believe his name's Tom Hiddlesbottom. Not quite sure of my celebrities. If you know his name, Kimera ha Tom. Ha Tom Ski. What about this girl here? Kimera hai. Chaneli tullidge. She's not happy. I think she might be uavasach. I think it could be worse than not happy. Ha I uavasach. Ha I uavasach bránach. She's awfully sad. Cimid a hai, ha I, ha I mi holiday. Perhaps she's unhappy. Ha I mi holiday. Perhaps she's angry. She's going to start shouting. Ha I ferigach. But anyway, chaneli guma. She's not well. She's not good. Cimid a hai. And this is Mark Hamill, also known as Luke Skywalker. Cimid a ha Luke Skywalker. I cracked you. He's crazy in this picture. Ha ferigach. Ha mi vogel. Perhaps he's being cheeky. Ha Mark Hamill. Mi vogel. Cimid a hai. Well, in this one I'd say ha I ferigach. I ferigach. Not much doubt about that one. Cimid a hai. Ha sochgad. Hi sochgad. And again, if you know his name, you can ask about that. Cimid a hai. Ha sochgad. About this picture, cimid a hai. And again, you can see a tear rolling down his cheek. Cimid a hai. Ha bránach. How is he? He is sad, miserable. Ha bránach. Cimid a ha Tom Hanks. Show Tom Hanks. So cimid a hai. How is he? Cimid a ha Tom Hanks. Hi anoshel. He looks troubled. Hi anoshel. Hi imiganach. Maybe he's nervous. What about this fellow here? He looks like he's pretty angry. He's getting ready for battle. Cimid a hai. Ha ferigach. He's angry. Hi ferigach. And here we have Sorla Maclean, Sorla MacLean, the Gaelic poet that we saw previously. Cimid a ha Sorla. Hi sochgad. Dyn sochgad a ham. He's a quiet, easygoing person. Cimid a hai. Cimid a ha Sorla. Ha Sorla sochgad. So that's just some additional vocabulary to describe how people are, so we can give answers other than just ha guma, ha I guma. And remember, we can always use combinations, so ha bránach, chanel iad, ferigach, chanel iad, talidja. We can say they're not these things too, if we're not sure what they are. And lastly, just a bit of homework over the achi. It can be very useful when you're learning to keep a diary of sorts. It's always advisable to have a notebook with you to write down vocabulary. As I mentioned with the verbal nouns we were introduced to in this lesson, you're not always going to take in everything you see. So it can be very useful to write down just the words and phrases you feel will be most relevant to you, things that you feel are important. Write that down for yourself. Keep a note of things that you think you'll use most often. Likewise, you can keep a diary, and this sheet can be printed out as often as you like and has the days of the week, which I'll just read through quickly. So, Juluang, Monday, and like French, lundi, like the day of the moon, I suppose. Juluang. Also, like a bit like French, mercredi, dimanche, and that's related to Mars. Dimanche, Tuesday. Diceaidin, Wednesday. Diceaidin. Dearstún, Thursday. Dearstún. Dehúine, Friday. Dehúine. Desaharne, Saturday. Desaharne. And like Deluin agus Dimarst, Desaharne, some people might see a resemblance to Saturn's Day, in the kind of Latin form of Saturday. Even Saturday itself comes from the Saturn. So Desaharne, Saturday. And we have two options, like we do in English for Sunday. We have dèanamh, Sunday. Plana Leasain, which is the day of the Sabbath. Plana Leasain. Traditionally, dèanamh is used in the Catholic areas and Plana Leasain in the Protestant areas of the islands, but this usage is not necessarily so strict as that, and they will both be understood and to varying degrees used by followers of both religions, particularly these days. And like I mentioned, in English we have the option to say Sunday or the Sabbath. So those two options exist, and people who might say dèanamh would also use Plana Leasain for the Sabbath day. So these days in schools, for instance, dèanamh is taught as Sunday and Plana Leasain is left as the Sabbath day. So that's the days of the week, and for each of these you can say A1-03, which we saw in the first lesson. The weather is, and describe how the weather is. So Deluin A1-03 fluch, the weather is wet. You can also use some of the adjectives that we've just been introduced to say hami bránach, hami trang, hami ski. So you can note down how you're feeling to use that. You can also use the verbal nouns we've seen today, how dèanamh and you, hami gobuth, hami clúich, hami whatever, whichever of the verbal nouns is appropriate. So this is a very useful exercise just to practice the phrases and the vocabulary that we've learned in the course, and to do so as you go on. So this sheet can be very useful, and the phrases that you can keep in your diary can become more advanced as we move through the course. Anyway, that's this lesson, and I hope you'll join us for the next one shortly. Dèanamh.